Hello, Lockerbie. Today we're going to start a new topic which is called heat, a really important topic in physics, and we're hoping that you're going to join in with a practical today. So 3 members of staff were discussing what they would do to try and stop their snowman melting. So Miss Curry says, "Don't put the coat on the snowman, he'll melt." Mr. Downey said, "The coat will keep him cold and stop him melting." Miss McNay says, "I don't think it will make any difference whether you cover the snowman in a coat or not." So pause the video, draw this in your jotters and write down what your ideas would be. Then we'll have a look how we might do that experiment. What we'd really like you to do is put your ideas into the chat and we'll see if we can come up with some ideas. Your teacher might set up a poll for you. Then what I want you to do is think how we can do that at home. You can't have a snowman. Maybe you can. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. If you remembered from a couple of weeks back, we did ask you to put 2 bottles of water into the freezer. And I want you to think about what you could do to test this idea. You've got to think about how you'd make it a fair test. What would be your control? What sort of results would you be looking for to tell you whether it's better to wrap it in a coat or not to wrap it in a coat? How will you keep yourself safe? And what equipment are you going to need? When you've done that, scribble it down. Put your answers in the chat and then please stop and read the risk assessment. So this is what we're going to get you to do. You're going to put 2 bottles of water in the freezer. You're probably going to have to leave them overnight. So if you haven't done all that already, you'll have to do some more work and come back to this another day. Get them out of the freezer really carefully without sticking your hand all over them to warm them up. You're going to wrap one up in a really thick coat or a jumper. Just leave the other one on the desk, but not in direct sunlight. That wouldn't be fair. Leave it for 30 minutes so you can go away and do a title page. Then I want you to open the lids of both bottles and pour out the melted ice, so the water into a cup if you haven't got a measuring cylinder, and see which one has melted most. And then see if you can explain your results. So, first thing you need to do is get your 2 snowmen, which should be 2 frozen bottles, out of the freezer. Make sure you close the freezer door. And then you need to set those up on a bench with a stopwatch, so they're both totally frozen. I'm going to hide one of them in the thickest coat I've got. You can use a thick jumper and start the stop clock. So one of them is going to be tucked under there, not touched for about 40 minutes. And the other one is going to be just left on the bench. Now the teacher should have posted the answers on the chat, which is a video of me doing this experiment. And I wondered if you got the same results. Be honest with yourself and your family. Did you get the results that you were expected? Because I think most people would have thought that the one that you left in the coat would warm up and would cause it to melt, and that's not happening. So your question for the rest of the period is, why didn't that happen? So one of them is going to be tucked under there, not touched for about 40 minutes. And the other one is going to be just left on the bench. So if I came back 39 minutes later, what do you think is going to happen? Well, I'm going to pour out the water. So the ice has melted. This is the one that has just been standing on the bench. And I'm pouring out the water from the bottle that has melted. And when I top that up, just getting all the last water out. And when I top that up, you can see that that's about 10 millilitres worth of water. So now I'm going to see about the one that has been hidden in my coat. It's got a 3-layer coat. So again, I'm just opening the bottle. You should be able to see already that the bottle looks slightly different. The bottle still looks like it's got a lot of ice in there. And when I try pouring that out, you can see there's absolutely no water. It hasn't melted at all. There's next to no water in there. So I've got one bottle that's been on the desk that is probably about half melted, and the rest is not melted at all. Isn't that wow?